Hey, Mr. Wiedemer here from Mr. Wiedemer's History. Welcome to a brief overview of the entire course. This is a Changing America, Reconstruction to Present. Alright, so how has America changed since the Civil War? Now, that's the essential question you need to ask, and we're going to answer that here. Alright, so the U.S. had to rebuild and repair after the Civil War. Civil War just destroyed America, and so we had a period called Reconstruction. Alright, and with this Reconstruction, we had tenant farmers and sharecroppers, and things were not good for African Americans. In the South, had a lot of discrimination, Jim Crow laws, black codes. We have these amendments going on here with Reconstruction. We had 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Reconstruction Amendment, 13th freed the slaves, 14th gave African Americans citizenship, and the 15th gave African Americans the right to vote. Okay, that's a big thing about Reconstruction. And every former Confederate state had to rejoin the Constitution. All right, we had a radical Reconstruction where the radical Republicans were in charge. We had different plans. President Johnson got impeached for violating the 10-Year Office Act, firing Secretary Stanton where he wasn't supposed to fire him. Ends up staying in office by one vote, but it really hurt the rest of his presidency. Alright, so this Reconstruction, and then America moves out west. We have the Wild Wild West. The big help of the West, we have the railroad, specifically the Transcontinental Railroad from Omaha, Nebraska to Sacramento, California. It's going to really bring America together. Alright, along the west, we had cattle drives, driving cattle from Texas all the way up to like Kansas City and Chicago and whatnot, the rail centers that were up north. And so the cattle drivers led to cowboys and towns all around the west, people moving out west to start over, the safety valve that, America, we can start over. Okay, and also who helped shape the west, besides the railroads and the ranchers, we also had the farmers, okay, the sodbusters. They're going free land, all right, and we're going to move out west, Homestead Act, move out west. People are going to settle out west and put farms and have to create homesteads. Also, probably the most important group of people who helped shape the West were the miners. Okay, the miners helped, finding gold and silver, and they shaped a lot of shapes of the states. Colorado was formed off of Kansas because Kansas didn't want any part of those miners. And so miners and farmers and ranchers all going to shape the West. And the Transcontinental Railroad really brings it all together. And also, out west, we have a little problem with the Native Americans. We kept pushing them out west, and now we're going to go to war with them, okay, the Plains Wars. And, it's had like Little Big Horn, Stand Creek Massacre, Battle of Wounded Knee, ended up with the Dawes Plan, stick them on reservations. And so we're just constantly fighting with the Native Americans. All right, during the same time period, rise of big business. We have laissez-faire government, and so we're allowing big business to run rampant. Run roughshod over America. And that led to corruption and monopolies, robber barons or captains of industry such as Rockefeller and Carnegie. And this is called the Gilded Age. Things that maybe shine on the surface, but underneath it's kind of crummy. Okay, that's coined by Mark Twain. So big business, corruption abound. You have, the muckrakers writing about the awfulness of society. We have like Jacob Riis, a very famous one of muckraker. Spanish-American War hit. America had to move away from isolationism into imperialism. Big debate. We're going to stay isolated. George Washington, isolation. Monroe Doctrine. Europe needs to stay away from us. We'll stay away from you. But now, Spanish-American War, the sinking of the Maine, that kind of blew up on its own, but we blame Spain. Yellow journalism. Got everybody riled up and wanted to go to war. And so, remember the Maine. And so you go to war. We did not lose a single battle in the Spanish-American War. We just whooped up all over Spain. Then we get to the Philippines. We have a little issue with the Filipinos. We kind of slaughtered a lot of the Filipinos. So we kind of did the same thing that we condemned Spain for doing in Cuba. Not very good. We have like the Teller Amendment, the Platt Amendment. Roosevelt and his Rough Riders helped propel Roosevelt to stardom during the Spanish-American War. This age of imperialism. Roosevelt becomes president, and he, he's a trust buster, the cowboy. He, speak softly, carry a big stick. The Roosevelt Colorado gives teeth to the Monroe Doctrine. And so Roosevelt, just busting up trust, big business. This leads into the progressive era. We're going to reform government, more power to the people, like 17th Amendment, direct election of senators. We have Robert LaFalte in Wisconsin. The states become the laboratory of democracy. And they start with referendum and recall and really give more power to the people. And the biggest was the 17th Amendment. All right, and this progressive era reforms and ends the Gilded Age. Progressive era ends with the advent of World War I. Now, World War I going on, Woodrow Wilson leads America through World War I. Woodrow Wilson also is the Federal Reserve System. The banks get 12 Federal Reserve, helps the banking industry, gives women the right to vote, the 19th Amendment. Before 19th Amendment, we had the 18th Amendment, which started prohibition, means no alcohol. All right, and that's going to last into the Great Depression, or the 21st Amendment, where we repeal the 18th Amendment, the only amendment to be repealed. All right, good times back again, is what they said. And so, World War I, Wilson, he spearheads us to World War I, gets us to World War I. America helps out European allies. We get in World War I, unrestricted submarine warfare, Zimmerman telegram. World War I happened 100 years ago today. As I'm recording this, actually 100 years ago today it started. So, put us on a global scale. It's going to change the face of America, change the face of the world. The war to end all wars. The Great War, World War I, signified by trench warfare, submarine warfare, the airplane dogfights, new technologies. All right, after World War I, we have the Red Scare because the communists are taking over Russia. Okay, the Bolshevik Revolution, the Red Scare. We're all scared of the communists taking over America. All right, 1920s. A time of change and prosperity. We got traditionalists versus modernists. All right, except these farmers were not in this very good. We also have a rise of, anti-immigration. We have new immigration laws. Immigrants came over during the late 1800s in droves. Just millions of immigrants come to America. They really build the backbone of America is immigration. Remember the industrialization. We have, laissez-faire government, immigration, the railroads. It's going to really help build America. And now immigrants are strange, they smell weird, they're Catholic. They might bring revolutionist ways to America, turn us communist. And so we're very afraid. And so during the 1920s, we see the rise, like the Sacco and Vanzetti case. We see a rise of a lot of this xenophobia going on. The Palmer raids. Things we weren't treating them very much. So we have Quota Act, and we're going to have set quotas for these people who come in here and whatnot. There's also traditionalist versus modernist. None better example than the Scopes monkey trial, where John C. Scopes got in trial for teaching evolution. Of course, it's all just kind of bring it in the spotlight, make a big deal of it. William James Bryan was very much creationist, and he got really made a fool of. The whole creationism versus evolution, what we teach, what theory do we teach, for the Bible or, Darwin. And so really came to head during the 1920s. In the 1920s, prosperity kind of ended with the advent of the Great Depression. The stock market crashed, which the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, in 1929, stock market crashed. The Great Depression, 25% unemployment, running rampant. People living in shanty towns called Hoovervilles. It was absolutely a terrible time. Dust Bowl happened in the plains, overgrazing, overproduction on land that shouldn't have been grazed on, in a prolonged drought. This leads to the Dust Bowl. This is a bad time in America, bad time for the world as a whole. All right, Hoover didn't do much. He kind of gave up. He gave to the government, trickled down. He said, the economy will fix itself. That's his thought. Then FDR comes in, and he creates a big government, the New Deal. Okay, big government. Okay, increases the size of the government's power, and it just really increases over time, as we found out from the very beginnings from George Washington. Just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the biggest leap was FDR, New Deal, big government to help stop and end the Great Depression. We have government's going to get an active role in our everyday lives. and also put to work people, the alphabet soup policies, the CCC, the WPA, the AAA. Roosevelt had a lot of opposition, especially the Supreme Court, so he wants the court pack, and so it gets the Supreme Court back on his side. So the Great Depression, New Deal with it. So the New Deal kind of helps it, but it doesn't get us out of the Great Depression. What gets us out of the Great Depression is our spending during World War II. World War II comes, and we're out of it. We're neutral. Neutrality Act, Neutrality Act, Neutrality Act. We'll lend-lease, cash and carry, help our allies out, but we're not going to war. All age short of war, as Roosevelt said. But then, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor happened. Okay, America was deliberately attacked by the Empire of Japan, and they've awoken a sleeping giant, because on December 8th, 1941, we go to war, and we enter World War II. All right, we're no longer neutral. We're all in, and we go after Hitler. All right, and then we go into Asia, same time, fight a two-front war. All right, December 7th, 1941, date that'll live in infamy. All right, just like World War I, whole countries involved in war effort. Economic growth led out of the Great Depression. World War II ended with the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to save American lives. We dropped the bomb to save American lives. All right, this economic growth. These had depression. Atomic bomb dropped, ends the war. Japan surrenders, and then that ushers in the atomic age. The Cold War leaves USSR communist, America capitalist, East versus West, and here we go. The Cold War. Cold War, because no one fought. All right, it's all about espionage and nuclear threats and space race. All right, and so the Cold War raged from 1945 to 1991. The Cold War policy, our 20th century policy, foreign policy, is containing the red, containing the red. We go fight wars in Korea. We go fight wars in Vietnam, all to contain the red. All right, the reds, the ketchup bottle. Keep that lid on that ketchup bottle. Don't let any ketchup come out. We got to contain the red, contain the red. All right, that's the Cold War, all in the 20th century. Okay, we have the Truman Doctrine, the Marshall Plan to aid these countries to make sure they don't turn to communism. All right, civil rights and civil unrest in the 60s changed America. Led by Martin Luther King, we had bus boycotts, we had marches, we had protests. Brown versus Board of Education ended segregation in the schools, reversed Plessy versus Ferguson, and just the landmark case. Earl Warren, the Warren Court, expanded civil liberties in the 1960s in criminal cases, and all with Brown, Miranda, Gideon. All these court cases are now expanding civil liberties. We're at the brink of nuclear war in the 60s. Most famous encounter was Cuban Missile Crisis, 13 days in October, where we thought we were going to just be destroyed. All right, but Kennedy stood strong after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. He had the Cuban Missile Crisis, which he prevailed. He was assassinated November 22nd, 1963, by Lee Harvey Oswald. Very, very controversy there. People were very weary of executive branch gaining too much power and upsetting the checks and balances of the Constitution, that's especially with the Johnson and Nixon with the Vietnam War. Right? Like I said, the Gulf of Tonkin, where basically the Congress gave all power to send troops to the president. Watergate scandal, Nixon lied and lied and lied, and would have been impeached, but he quit before he got impeached. First president to do that, first president not to win a war. Right, during the 70s, America's gripped by an energy crisis, Iranian hostage crisis, which ended the presidency of Carter. Reagan becomes president, 80s, ushered in conservatism, less government, and economic boom. Coined Reaganomics, trickle-down economics theory. The U.S. was once again at war with the first Gulf War, won in 100 hours, liberated Kuwait. The United States became part of a global economy in the 90s. The internet boom, technology everywhere. People started migrating from the industrial northeast, the Rust Belt, to the technological southwest, the Sun Belt. Global war on terror began. The U.S. attacked September 11, 2001, and the war on terror dominates the foreign policy of the 21st century America. All right, so there you have it. All right, there's the sources from throughout the course, and it's over. It's done. A little bit of brief history of the United States. Until next time, study history.